Welcome to the Kern County Planning Commission meeting, October 27th, 2022. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Commissioner Ashley?
Here.
Commissioner Judge? Commissioner McGiffey?
Here.
Commissioner Skidmore? Here. Commissioner Sprague? Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Miss Simon? Here. Miss Slayton? Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda is commission member announcements or reports. Do I have any announcements or reports from the commissioners?
I have a question for staff, and I'd like to ask direction from staff on what they would recommend. But there was the case that we were dealing with over the summer regarding the mining issue in Ridgecrest area, and we asked for some continuous updates, and I have not done due diligence of asking for updates, so I'm wondering if I can request for an update next meeting.
Commissioner Skidmore through the chair. A couple of things just to answer that question. So we didn't provide any updates because the applicant actually appealed the decision. So that made it de novo. So any of the action your commission took, it just kind of was stalled, and then the board considered the project. I can tell you the project was considered by the board, and the Board of Supervisors denied the request for vested mining rights. And in that presentation, we did mention that we have been actively working with that applicant as well, though. And we're about 4 or 5 conditions away that we are waiting on him to finalize before anything can move forward on that existing conditional use permit.
Great, perfect, thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none. We have the minutes from October 13th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes from the October 13th meeting.
I'll second.
Voice vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. Item D, cases withdrawn. There are none. And I guess these items on the consent agenda are not going to be on consent, so we're going to go to public presentations. Do we have any public presentations? Any items not on the agenda? Anybody wish to address on any matter? Speakers limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before making your presentation. Do I have any public presentations? Hearing none, we will then go back to our cases. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. The first case on the agenda is SPA number 16, map 165. Zone change case number 72, map 165, ag preserve number 18, exclusion. Our applicant for this particular project is Andy and Julie Dahl by GPS Services. And our supervising planner, Mr. Matt Hall, will be making the presentation for this item this evening.
Good evening. The project before your commission is a request to amend the Greater Tehachapi Area Specific and Community Plan, Land Use Designation, and Zoning on a single parcel of approximately 20.39 acres. The parcel is located west of the city of Tehachapi, directly north of Bright Lake. Currently, the site has a specific plan and zoning designation of agricultural. The applicants are requesting a change in zone district from A, exclusive agriculture, to E10 RS, estate 10-acre residential suburban combining, which would allow for a land division map to subdivide the project parcel into 2 10-acre parcels. Although the parcel will be subdivided into 10-acre parcels, the requested specific plan amendment is from the 8.1 intensive agriculture designation to the 5.7 residential minimum 5 acre per unit, because the specific plan does not have a residential designation for 10-acre residential. The request also excludes the project site from the agricultural preserve, as the requested specific plan designation and zoning classification would no longer be agricultural. The site is currently developed with 2 single-family residences and various agricultural uses. The intended subdivision map would have each of the existing residences on a separate parcel. Surrounding parcels to the east, west, and northwest are utilized for the growing of agricultural crops. Bright Lake is to the south of the site. Projects to the north are zoned agricultural but developed with residences. Staff notified all affected agencies, county departments, and property owners within 1,000 feet of the project area of tonight's hearing. As a result of that notification, staff received responses from the Kern County Public Works Department, Development Review, and Floodplain Management sections, both stating they had no comment. One letter in opposition was received from the owners of the properties to the north of the project site, Ken and Cheryl Coughlin. The Coughlins stated their belief that the request would not be consistent with surrounding properties, would create spot zoning, and would not be consistent with the specific plan. As shown in this figure, while the zoning of adjacent properties is exclusive agriculture, there exists several parcels within the immediate area of the project site that are residentially zoned with the E20, E5, E2.5, and E1 zone districts. Furthermore, several parcels near the project have the requested specific plan designation of 5.7, minimum 5 acres, as can be seen highlighted on this figure, as well as the 5.6, minimum 2.5 acres, and 5.8, minimum 20 acres designation, including the Coughlins properties immediately to the north of the project site. Staff has reviewed the request and believes the project is consistent with the goals and policies of the Greater Tehachapi Area Specific and Community Plan, and that the required findings can be made for approval of the requested specific plan amendment, zone change, and ag preserve exclusion. Therefore, it is the department's recommendation to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors approve the amendment to the land use element of the Greater Tehachapi Area Specific and Community Plan, enact ordinance and adopt resolution approving the zone change, approve the exclusion from the boundaries of agricultural preserve number 18, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolutions. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Do we have the applicant here this evening? Would they like to come forward? Do we have anyone in opposition to this? Would they like to come forward? Seeing and hearing none, any members of the commission wish to comment or have questions for Mr. Hall?
If there are no
No, okay.
questions or comments, I would make a motion to approve as presented. by staff.
The chair had a question.
Okay, go for it. Go
Thank
for it.
you. Mr. Hall, just a couple quick questions. Were there any residents of Tehachapi that commented upon this project?
The Coughlins own the properties to the north.
But they're not
It was-
residents. They live in Rancho Palos Verdes, from what I can tell, right?
That was what the return address was. They may reside on the properties part-time and simply mailed their letter from Ranchos Palos Verdes.
But to your,
But we received no other comments
okay,
other than
okay.
theirs.
And then I had a question about, the Coughlins discussed a couple things. One of them, allowing these smaller parcels set precedent or continue undermining of the specific community plan. And I just wondered what your comment was about that, if you had any.
Just that there were a number of other properties in the area that already had residential designations, the same or smaller allowed parcel sizes than what's being requested. And while this would be a smaller parcel allowance than the immediately adjacent parcels, that there are a number of other parcels within half a mile that are the same size or smaller than what is being requested by the applicants.
Okay, well, I just wanted that clarification. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Makes sense.
Certainly.
Okay, I have no other questions. And I will entertain a motion.
Okay. I will
Sorry about
go
that.
back to where we were.
Back to
No other questions or comments. I will make a motion to approve as presented by Mr. Hall.
And I will second.
Call the vote.
Three ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Murphy or Mr. Hall, or any appeals?
There's not on this item. It includes general plan amendment, zone change, and so your action was a recommendation, and the Board of Supervisors will consider it at a publicly noticed hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Very well, on to the next case. Mr. Murphy, if you will please.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. This case is conditional use permit number 45, map 10328. Our applicant is Rogelio Tanako by JR Design Group, and Ms. Anjanette Simon will be making this presentation. She is the division chief over the current planning unit.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Ms. Simon, whenever you're ready,
Thank you. Just give me a second.
no worries.
Thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. The case before you tonight is conditional use permit case number 45, map number 103-28, which is a proposal to allow the operation of a vehicle dismantling junkyard with associated office and indoor dismantling shop on 2 parcels of record totaling an approximate 70.77 acres in an M2 industrial district. The applicant is Rogelio Tanako, and this is by JR Design Group. And the project is located at 720 Mount Vernon Avenue, and that is just outside the Bakersfield city limits. The surrounding properties are designated by the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan as SI, which is service industrial, and is zoned, again, M2 medium industrial. With the surrounding development being mixed with commercial uses such as offices, restaurants, mechanic shops, a veterinary hospital, and funeral home located directly south of the site. The area also includes scattered homes to the north and west that were constructed prior to the zoning ordinance being adopted. The project site is currently unpaved and contains stacked and wrecked vehicles and accessory structures. The site was purchased by the applicant in February of 2020, with wrecked vehicle storage appearing on site in April 2020. The applicant had ongoing correspondence and compliance reviews with the Kern County Code Compliance Division, and in late 2021 was encouraged by the code enforcement to consult with the planning department, and subsequently the applicant submitted a conditional use permit for the current application. Because the dismantling junkyard was already conducting operations on site, the applicant was required to attend a violation hearing on February 3rd in 2022, in which it was determined that limited operations could continue on site as long as the applicant followed specific stipulations for dismantling and storage, which included limited hours, vehicle stack heights, and a couple of other stipulations. During the interim time to today's hearing, the operation appeared to be in compliance during various site visits, staff site visits, and when not in compliance, the applicant would correct the infraction. During ongoing review and during the notification for tonight's agenda, staff received neighbors' comments regarding visual impacts and other impacts related to the on-site operation. Several of those other impacts would be dust, noise, and possible thefts on site. Also during the evaluation, staff discussed compliance requirements with various departments to formulate recommendations for the proposal. In response to the concerns raised, staff has recommended various conditions for consideration to reduce or eliminate potential impacts. Page 5 of the draft resolution details requirements under condition number 4 with construction of an 8-foot masonry wall. I'm gonna put the applicant's site plan up here real quick. on the south side of the property. And through conversations with the applicant, they also are proposing to put the masonry wall on the north side and the east side of the property to prevent visual of the project site, to discourage theft and other types of activities. The vehicle storage would also be kept with a 15-foot buffer off from the south and north side of the project site with full canopy of trees to aid in the visual buffer. And that is, again, under condition number 4 on page 5 of the draft resolutions. The trees will aid in the visual buffer, and the wall would be a safety measure, and the vehicle stacking would be limited to the height of the wall or two vehicles, whichever matches. Condition number 2E on page 4 also includes part of a planter area that would ensure the 15-foot buffer. Page 7, under condition 8I, recommends the entire site be paved, specifically the vehicle storage area, to eliminate blowing dust, as the property is currently, again, unpaved. Under condition 2, staff has included many conditions that would help to, again, eliminate or reduce the impacts to neighboring properties. A few of those would be that the limited hours of dismantling would be from 8 to 5 p.m., 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that proper retainment of the 3 cargo containers on site in order for parts to be secured storely on site would help to deter any kind of theft in the neighborhood. I do have a few of the renderings that the applicant provided. This would be a look of the masonry wall from the outside of the property. This would be from the from Steel, I believe it's Steel Court, Steel Avenue, which is comes right in here, and this is actually the entryway to the site. This would be the offices, and this would be the parking area. Another condition that is part of number 2 would be that there would be no public road drop-off of any kind of vehicles to eliminate, again, theft or, visual disturbance to the area. This is an elevation of the building for the dismantling. As you can see, there are roll-up doors, and then there is a facade on the outside for aesthetics. And here would be what the interior would look like with the wall and, again, the trees to help with the visual buffering. So with these conditions, staff believes the vehicle dismantling junkyard would ensure appropriate development on site to prevent general nuisance during the operations to the surrounding areas. And I do have a couple of housekeeping items. Subsequent to the distribution of the staff report, we found a couple of typos. One is under condition 8K, the word inch should be completely removed as it is irrelevant to the condition in general. There should be no dimensions mentioned in that condition. And the last one is condition number 1 should be revised to state plans shall be revised to include the masonry wall along the north and east property lines, as the current plans only show it along the south side. And with these clarifications, it is staff's recommendation to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the revised recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Is the applicant here tonight wish to discuss this project? If your applicant's here, please come forward. If you'd like to talk.
Mr. Chairman, can I have staff clarify one other additional piece
Yes,
of item
Mr.
that I think
Murphy.
would be important? Ms. Simon, can you provide, and you may have mentioned it, but a summary, all dismantling will take place in site, And additionally, when you dismantle the vehicle, there's not continual dismantling, meaning if you remove a door, you don't then continually dismantle the door and anything along those lines. Like they're wholesale parts that are being dismantled. Is that correct, Ms. Simon?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Murphy.
So-
That would be under, condition number 2A, and that was proposed by the applicant specifically. So we used the applicant's operational statement. If I do have that correct, the applicant can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but that was something that we discussed with them.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Alex Rivera with JR Design Group. I'm here representing Mr. Tinoco regarding the CUP. We agree with the staff's recommendation, and to expand on Mr. Murphy's question, we are a middle phase before the vehicle is taken to a salvage yard like a Sierra Recycling. This is just whole components. It's basically tools that are used at a mechanic shop are used, hand tools, are used to dismantle whole parts, and then that vehicle is taken to a last resort junkyard. Okay. Thank you.
I had a question for you, if that's okay, unless anybody else has any questions. What about security on this property? I was just curious. I didn't see any or hear anything expressly about security on this property.
Yet, and we don't have anything proposed on the plan, but in conversations with Ms. Simon earlier today, we all agreed that a monitoring system, security cameras are definitely going to be implemented. There's no proposal for an on-site caretaker's quarters or 24-hour surveillance, but definitely monitoring.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
And if there are anyone else in opposition to this project, would they please like to come forward? And if they do, please come forward then.
My name is Shane Reno. I'm the owner and operator of Mount Vernon Veterinary Hospital on the south side of the property. And actually, the project sounds pretty good at this stage. Up until this point, we've had a problem with the aesthetics of this situation on the north side of our property. My clients for 2 years have been subjected to the stacked cars and has degraded the aesthetic quality of our properties. My brother-in-law owns the mortuary next door to me, and we've had a little problem. He's had problems with theft, people coming through the fence, and we've had, now I noticed that they said that he was in compliance when, after visits by staff were made, but I see the property every day, and about 2 weeks after the last meeting we went to in February, those cars were up against the fence again. They were stacked higher than the fence. They were not supposed to do dismantling on the sheltered hoist that they had there. They've been using that ever since that meeting, or 2 weeks after it. So as long as Mr. Tinoco is in compliance with these recommendations by staff and the wall actually gets built within 3 months, that sounds pretty good to me. And that would be agreeable to us.
I had a question for you, if you don't
Yes.
mind. Do you feel or see a need for added security due to the nature of this business?
Absolutely, because the people cutting through the chain link fence has been a problem since this began. And there was even an incident where, well, this was during business hours, there was a drive-by shooting in which they targeted Mr. Tinoco's father's pickup truck, which was parked on the corner lot. Bullets went zinging over my clients in my parking lot, and fortunately nobody was hurt. But that has been a concern. The security is definitely a concern.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Lisa Harding, and I own the property that Alma Funeral Home is on. And again, I have concerns over the aesthetics of the property. We have we're meeting with families, we're running funerals, and we have a backdrop of stacked cars looming over the fence. And you made a stipulation of 2 cars, no more than 2 cars, but still, as you can see from the pictures, 2 cars is still too high. My question is, what are they doing with these stacked cars? They just seem to dismantle them and then they sit. Is there any plan to remove them from the property at any point? That's one question of mine. And also the security. We have cameras. It's our property that they are cutting through our fence, cutting through our gate. You have a picture of that too. To gain access, they use our mortuary as a cover to get through the back to gain access into their property, and they're stealing from them. And we have security, we have cameras, but I have films of the thief stealing, but still it's my property that's being damaged with all of this. And this is just another element. And the drive-by shooting that happened, where we had people outside, clients outside, I had an employee outside, it's very concerning. So yes, I'm not happy about this, what's going on there. And again, I'd like to know what is the plan for these cars that are just stacking and stacking. The picture you showed of the first picture, there are many, many more cars than what you have in that picture now. I mean, they just keep accumulating and throwing things on top of them as well. So yeah, I'm not very happy with what has been happening since this junkyard has come in. So
Thank you, Ms.
my
Harding.
concerns.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Commissioners?
Just a comment or two. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Reno for his comments and coming out and actually showing desire to work with and accommodate neighbors, provided that they behave properly and adhere to the conditions. So I really appreciate that. I may have some more comments, but I'll hold them for next.
Okay.
I don't have any comments.
Okay. I had a question for the staff about this. Mr. Murphy, if they're stacking vehicles, above and beyond the limits of the CUP, what happens next as far as how things go?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. So a couple things. Today's consideration of this item, and then ultimately if the recommendation is approved and the site is authorized, that's a different and more hard requirement than what had been done in the past. Clearly, the applicant had been operating the site without the appropriate land use authority, whether that was because they either didn't know or were unaware. There could be a lot of different reasons. Clearly, today, the conditions are extremely clear what the requirements would be. Just like with any conditional use permit, if it is found that the applicant is in violation of those, normally staff reaches out to them and we try to communicate and have a conversation and make sure that they understand that they're not in compliance and they're in danger of having the staff set this project back for hearing before your commission, at which point you would have the ability to revoke the conditional use permit. So really the action is, if they're not in compliance, we tend to work with applicants to make sure that they try to get into compliance. Sometimes it's just a misunderstanding how the condition reads one way or the other, but ultimately the recourse could be, if they are continually not in compliance with the requirements, is that the item could get brought back before your commission and you would actually have the ability to revoke the land use authorization for the use at that site. I would also note real quick, just to answer the question from that was made, once the vehicle's condition 2D helps to answer it. All dismantled vehicles shall be removed from the site and delivered to a licensed vehicle recycler. Crushing and shredding of any vehicles on site is prohibited both inside and outside of this dismantling shop. So again, as mentioned before, This site is really one, it's kind of that intermediate. They take parts off the vehicle, those that can be salvageable. There is no continued dismantling. And then once they've got those wholesale parts, then the vehicle is then shipped to someone who will actually recycle it, crush it, and kind of process that vehicle even further.
And the same goes for the paving. It's not completed within the period of the CUP.
Correct. So the site was operating without paving. You know, we've required now with the conditions that the paving has to occur. Because it was a site that was authorized to allow for continued operation, staff had recommended the conditions, kind of the appropriate time to continue to operate, but then also move forward with implementation of those conditions. So the 3-month is what we believed was appropriate to get that process started. You know, clearly if we know that permits have been issued and they're on their way, you know, we can work to make sure that that is being done. But the 3-month time period we felt was very appropriate to ensure, you know, it's quick, but it's also the appropriate time to make sure that the applicant now moves forward and starts to implement the project in a manner that is being recommended for approval.
And did staff look at the security of this situation to decide if it was sufficient for the area?
Chairman McGiffney, so as I was listening to the comments, I started thinking, there's a lot of different types of businesses that have vehicles in the parking lot. The county office is one, I can tell you for sure. You know, over at our offices, we have a lot of vehicles that are covered with a chain link fence and some barbed wire and some security. I don't think that it's appropriate necessarily for your commission to require cameras, just because, you know, that's kind of, you know, cameras are cameras. If you felt that you needed to have a full-time security, I guess that could potentially be a condition. My initial reaction when I heard it was, I think the fence, the block wall, the improvement of the site, I believe all of those factors will help to address these concerns. And then clearly from an applicant standpoint, if they are continuing to be vandalized or something else, then most cases, they take it upon themselves to help address that issue, as they need to make sure that their product is being maintained. And so I believe that as conditioned, that will go a long way towards addressing some of the security. And my initial recommendation would not be necessarily to require someone to be on site or anything along those lines at this time.
No, just because I'm hearing about the funeral home and the vandalization and the trespassing that's happened as a result, bringing it upon that area, it would seem like additional security would prevent or mitigate some of that. That was my main concern, is that we're attracting certain things to happen with trespassing and other vandalism potentially. So that would be my concern with this project. All right, do we have any other?
Yeah,
Commissioner
well,
comments?
I mean, I know we've approved we've approved operations like this on Steel Court, if I'm not mistaken, in the past. So I would say in terms of compatibility, it's not completely out of the realm of, it's not just crazy to have here. I think Mr. Tinoco's got some pretty good neighbors there, as evidenced by comments that we've heard this evening. And so I think I would be inclined to approve the project, but you're going to need to watch your P's and Q's. I mean, you've got one chance here, the way I see it, and you're going to have to adhere to those conditions, or if it comes back to us, we would be inclined to pull that conditional use permit. So I guess that's my motion to approve the project as presented, with the cautionary note to Mr. Tinoco to watch your business there. Don't make these people angry, and you know, they're good neighbors. You want to keep them like that.
With the corrections, of course, as annotated by Ms. Sonner.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll make a second, echoing Commissioner Ashley's remarks. And I will just say, I think historically, this commission has been pretty engaged on the type of wall or the height of the wall, and not really the type of security. And so I feel that we have enough information here to make it an ample decision. And so I'm supportive of the project, hence my motion, my second.
Thank you, Ms. Skidmore. If there are no more comments, call the vote. Madam Clerk.
Three ayes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Did it come up on the vote. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And the motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's
this
go.
project
Please
is
go
final,
ahead.
so I would,
Go ahead.
for projects where the planning commission action is final, those actions are subject to an appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. An appeal may be filed at the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms that we have available at the department and located on our website. That filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. If no appeal is received, the action of your commission is final.
And thank you, Mr. Murphy. Next item on our agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Aye.
All say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.